So, why does this in-home educational curriculum start at 6 months? Well, let me just be honest. Um, at the time, I believe that you could actually start it earlier. There are things that you can do much earlier, even during pregnancy, that could help with the child's development or promote the child's development. So, if it was me considering the ideal of saying it would be my household, I would love to be able to start even sooner than that. I think when talking to other individuals, um, 6 months seem more reasonable for them to hear and accept the idea versus uh, doing things during the pregnancy time period and starting from then. As well, as it relates to more the child and its brain development, during this time period, the child's brain is soaking up material and making connections. Or research says it's making neural connections between the very things that it's seeing, hearing, and experiencing in the world now. I'm just thinking that this curriculum, if you do it right and if you're intentional about it, that's the main thing. You could be intentional with those connections and helping the child make those connections in the areas that you want that child to not be so much advanced in. I mean, which it would the child should be, but the areas that you're beginning to build on building blocks with, or building blocks for. But you begin as early as 6 months. If not, if you don't want to start earlier, different people are at different time periods. Somebody may come across this video, and they may have a child that's already 3 years old. So what does it look like then to implement something this some implement this curriculum at that time period? I'm just thinking that, hey, 6 months could be a reasonable time period. Start as early as possible, to be honest. It just depends on what you want for your child and or your children, but start as early as possible. Another good reason to start as early as 6 months is that at this point, babies are already beginning to recognize speech patterns, observing movements, developing cognitive skills, as well as watching the individuals around them and using those individuals as models. I just imagine that if you're going to be around a child at the time, or you have a child and they're around this age, you can be intentional with what the child is experiencing, what the child is learning, what you're introducing to the child, especially in repetition, and you can help that child begin to acquire that information faster. In a sense, soak up that information faster, especially when it comes to communication. And I'm thinking that could be ASL as well as multiple languages. And I'm not saying bomb rush a child with languages at that age, but at that age and at that stage of their development, you could do small exercises with your child where you break down the phonetics of multiple languages or phonetic of one language and spend that time just working on the basic phonetics with that child for a few minutes. Hours can go by, and then later in the day, you can do the same thing, practice phonetics with it from a different language. And later today, practice phonetics from a different language. And I think that's how you begin to get these languages in as well. Starting very early and introducing them to small building blocks for the sounds and the words and the meanings to these words, making those connections while the child is at that stage, but also its brain is at that stage of development also. It does take a parent being intentional, but there are so many ways that I think you can start this early, and you can do it without it being taxing. I myself may be against the idea of just giving a kid a TV screen, but at this age, I don't see why you couldn't, as a parent, practice various languages, reading various stories, and recording this information and allowing it to replay to the child so they can at least hear it, even if you're not able to be directly with them reading at that time and moment. I think there are ways you can still create this atmosphere of learning, create and help build, I guess, build these connections for your kid at that early of a stage. I think the more intentional you are with building a connection, the better of a foundation you're providing your child. And that's whether it's with connections for the brain development, whether it's building building blocks for language acquisition, as well as in many videos, as many things you'll see, building up on their physical skills, their motor skills, and working with them on their motor skills. Um, and there are gonna be various exercises that you can do with their child. Not, I know somebody is thinking, oh, working out. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But various activities that you can do with your child that would help them with their motor skill, help them define and establish their motor skills, their gross and fine motor skills. As well, I truly believe that as a parent, if you're stepping into this new role of saying you want to be an in-home educator and you're going to govern your child's learning, I think one thing you may need to do and is practice. And if you can begin to practice with your child as early as possible, it's easy to make mistakes, get past them, learn, and improve your skills as an educator in the household. And again, when I'm saying educator in the household or in-home educator, I'm saying you need to govern. There are so many ways that you can create the environment and provide your child or your children with the resources they need to educate them. But I think that's something that you have to create. You have to create that culture and that atmosphere within your household, one that maybe values learning as well as requires its application in a learning process. And I think that's a huge part for anybody trying to learn or develop, or especially when you're working with kids and their development. It's not just in taking information, it's also allowing them to uh, manipulate the information with an actual and practical application to something. I think also at 6 months, it's easier to establish and create a routine, or maybe to create the atmosphere in your household for how your day goes and how within your day the tasks, the things being done or the hours being spent have some attachment to an actual learning aspect, the learning experience for your child, whether that's through their chores or through homework, actual work that you have established for them to do at home or to take with them and do throughout the day and bring back and have complete for home for when they return at home. But I think this is something that honestly you as a parent have to create. You know, how do I want to maximize my child's day so that they can learn the most? They can acquire the most information. And again, this looks so different. And I think that's one reason it's kind of hard to have a conversation with a camera or with you here, because different people are going to be at different stages. And what I would tell somebody who's, hey, planning to have a child or planning or expecting children will be completely different than what I'm telling somebody who is now having a 6, 7 year old or 7 year old about to go to school or going to school, you know? So different people are going to be at different stages. Some are going to be able to better create and craft their household or their home to where it's more of an investment to the child's development. Some individuals who may already have children may already also have a culture in the household that may be hard to change, especially when the kids have become accustomed to that culture, and that culture may be different than what this in-home educational curriculum requires or promotes. I can't say require. You do what you want to do with it. If it works for you, hey, run with it. Modify it as much as possible, as much as needed to fit what you envision for your family or what you bring to the table and want to invest in your kids and where you plan and expect your kids to go. What you're planning for your children. I just think, I think if you want your kid to be successful going forward, you got to get them more. You got to get them more than an education through the school system. You cannot. I don't think you can depend on the school system to set them up for success as best as possible. But we know that. We just don't talk about it, or we're continually accepting that. But anyway, this is why I think you should start early. Take advantage of as much of your child's time and development as possible. Oftentimes, when parents wait until they put their kid into school, they missed out on so many years where it was so. They missed out on capitalizing on the potential of their child's development during that time period. And they could have put their child or their children so much further ahead and prepared them for already not only school, but have them in a ropes up, have them on a path or doing so much more because of how you're investing within your kids. Start as early as possible. I mean, again, this curriculum is, yes, structured to start at 6 months. And part of that, again, is I built this curriculum based on me, so not having kids, having a kid would be my starting point. It wouldn't be I'm having a new child, but I already have a 3-year-old. If I had a 3-year-old, I guess I'd be telling you more of what I'm actually doing as opposed to what this curriculum can look like with you implemented within your household. It is what it is. So anyway, let me know what you think. Is that too early? Or are you just too lazy to put an effort at that time? Do you just not value the potential of your child's development during that time for you to think that's too early to begin investing at that point? I don't know. I don't know what the question is.